Well, hello again. And today we're going to talk about the sixth day of creation. That is the day that the soulish creatures, the Hebrew word nephesh, which means being or creature that has a soul. And the implication of that word is that not only the animals, but man also was given the breath of life. And that breath of life was the breath of the Holy Spirit, breathing life into the created creature. And um, so the first day, I want to cover a lot. So let's just jump right into it. Now, the first thing that we need to understand, I believe, is that man was created by God. That is what the Bible teaches. And that is what I put my faith and trust in, is that I have a creator, and that in that I was created gives me not only purpose but destiny as well. And if I just lived in a random universe, it takes more faith for me to believe in living in a random universe with no purpose, that there's no hope in that. um So it takes more faith for me to believe in that than it does to believe that I was created by God Himself. And so, what is the main point about being created by God is that, as it says in Genesis 1:26, and God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness." The image and likeness is almost the same thing, but yet there are subtle differences between the two. In the image of God, which the early church fathers referred to as the imago Dei, which is Latin for image of God, and in it there's the majesty and the partnership with God. Um, in other words, that the form of man follows God's form, but not form in the formal sense of appearance, but more like attributes or characteristics. And one thing that, according to the ancient Near Eastern myths and creation stories, that the image was to be a representative of God as a king. The Garden of Eden and all that was a picture of the kingdom of God, and that man was to be have dominion and rule over that kingdom. So, but the attributes and characteristics that are inherent in being created by God are things like reason, intelligence, language, creativity, power, and of course dominion, which I already mentioned. Um, and then we also inherited some of these spiritual traits from God, such as love, compassion, insight, wisdom, and holiness. So, what happened, we'll get to the fall in chapter 3, but what happened was the image became smudged. It became marred by sin because we fell, because we're fallen creatures. And because and Adam was our ancestor, we inherited his same characteristics as well, which are we'll talk more about that when we get to chapter 3. So man was created to glorify God by bearing his image. And the likeness is a reflection or resemblance of who God is in character and attributes. And to have dominion is sharing rule, or by ruling, sharing authority and power. And then on the sixth day, when God was finished creating man, he blessed them and or commanded them to propagate and manage or cultivate the garden. Um, Now, if you look at verse 29, let me just pause for a sort of subtopic. God said, "Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat or for food." Um, and some people believe that implies that the first humans were vegetarians, that it wasn't until the fall that this desire for the flesh of animals was introduced. Um, because, for example, like I said before, the soulless creatures included the animals, and man gave names to all the animals, and he had a relationship with these creatures that um, he was to rule over them and dominate them, but not dominate in a sense of you know uh, being the soulless creatures weren't necessarily servants to man, but they lived together, they dwelt together in harmony. And okay, so I don't understand how is it that if we live in this impersonal universe where there's no creation involved, then I mean you can teach evolution if you want, but a random origin for man that just is sort of just spontaneously was created, it takes more faith for me to believe that. So um anyway, there's certain things about this relationship that we have with the creator, and from relationship comes character, which I've already discussed, the character and attributes. And then from the character comes the function, which is to rule and have authority and cultivate and be. And then from the function comes the reproduction, the multiplication, be fruitful and multiply. So, having said all that, let me just read the passage once through, and that's Genesis verses 26 to 31. And God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth." And God said, "Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to every thing that creeps upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb the meat, and it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. And I would just like to conclude by stating that God saw, and that's that verb again that we discussed on the first day, that God saw the light and he saw that it was good. And then once more in the passage, the verb saw appears. Now, if you trace that phrase, God saw, when God sees, um, things happen, um, and there's the care and concern of God. And in the creation account of Genesis, which we're concluding today, the first chapter, um, we need to recognize what it is about God that we learn from it. We learn that God cares for and blesses and acknowledges his creation as good, and he sees it. He that implies his caring for it. And so later on you'll see phrases like in the book of Exodus when the Israelites were in bondage in Egypt and cried out to God for deliverance. The passage in Exodus 3 says that God saw the people of Israel and heard their cry for deliverance. And so that it shows again his concern and he's aware. He knows what is going on with his creation, and he has a relationship with his creation. Man was created to be in fellowship with God and to bear his image and to glorify God by bearing his image. So um, that's really all I had to say about the sixth day. It's the most exegeted passage, or one of the most exegeted passages in the Bible. And the whole entire premise of the Bible begins with Genesis chapter 1. Because if we don't acknowledge that God is our creator, then how can we acknowledge that we are sinners and need his salvation and need his deliverance? And so that's all I had to say for that. And thanks for listening. And if you have any questions or comments or want to discuss evolution or something like that, there are different theories. There's several different theories. And I'm going to post a document that breaks down all the theories of origin. There's three main theories of origin. And if you want to believe that you evolved from the lower creatures, then that's okay. For me, I believe that I'm a direct creation of God because I'm a descendant of Adam, who was a direct creation of God. And there were hominids in the earth, but that doesn't mean that man wasn't created by God. But anyway, let me just read from this book that I suggested, um, a paragraph that might shed some light on what I'm trying to say. It helps me. Okay, here it's three origins in life. God introduces a new kind of life that is both physical and soulish. Then, toward the end of creation, day 6, with the third use of bara, which is God made, comes yet another new life form, the one and only species that combines physical, soulish, and spiritual characteristics, human beings. No probiotic soup and little or no time eliminate the possibility of a naturalistic origin of life on Earth. As for the arriving from outer space, the more we learn about biochemistry, about life's complexities, and about the environment of the early Earth and extraterrestrial sites, the more we see the necessity of divine intervention to initiate life. So, however you subscribe to the theory of evolution, there's, like I said before, theistic evolution. Now, from this book here on intelligent design, there's this paragraph on page 115. Now, it is the design theorist's contention that the Darwinian establishment, in order to maintain its political, cultural, and intellectual authority, consistently engages in a fallacy or of equivocation when it uses the terms creation and evolution. The fallacy of equivocation is the fallacy of speaking out of both sides of your mouth. It is the deliberate confusing of two senses of a term, using the sense that's convenient to promote one's agenda. For instance, when Michael Ruse, in one of his defenses of Darwinianism, writes, evolution is a fact, fact, fact. How is he using the term evolution? Is it a fact that organisms have changed over time? There is plenty of evidence to confirm that organisms have experienced limited change over time. Is it a fact that the full panoply of life has evolved through purposeless naturalistic processes? This might be a fact, but whether it is a fact is very much open to debate. So these are scientists that are saying these things, not just you know random people. So anyway, I just thought I'd read those. That's uh, that's from William Dembski, Intelligent Design, and Navigating Genesis by Hugh Ross. Hugh Ross has a website called uh, reasons.org, Reasons to Believe. And I posted the link to that before. So that does it for this sixth day. And I realize that nothing I've said is not disputed or debated, but I've come to the conclusion that I have. So thank you for listening and have a good day. Bye.